On our 10th wedding anniversary, my husband and his family dragged me to the marriage tribunal. He claimed I should repay every penny he'd ever spent on me during our marriage. As I stood there, facing the accusations, I turned to Jake. He had even brought his relatives who were more than willing to vouch for my supposed cruelty. "You'll die a terrible death for what you've done to Jake, Elena, man. You heartless woman. You even abandoned your own son. He's only 8 years old, for God's sake." Before the judge could say a word, Jake and his family had already launched their attack. His mother sat in the audience, bawling hysterically, while she loudly recounted my alleged misdeeds. I stared at them and sank into thought. The spectators, too, glared at me with fury. They acted as if I had wronged each of them. And then, the trial began. I was led to the defendant's stand, just behind the memory extraction device. The judge turned to me, her voice stern. "Defendant, based on the plaintiff's accusations, we will now proceed with a memory extraction for truth verification. If everything aligns with the plaintiff's claims, you will be convicted." I glanced at Jake. Beside him were his sister, his mother, and our 8-year-old son. They stood there, smug. I asked, "Are you sure this trial will be 100% fair? No favoritism?" A murmur ran through the audience, shocked by my question. Just a week ago, Jake had teamed up with his mother and sister to post a plea for help online. They announced that they were taking me to court because I wanted a divorce. Now this wasn't any ordinary court. To ensure absolute fairness, both the plaintiff's and defendant's memories would be extracted and reviewed. The judge, along with the scales of justice, would determine the verdict. The post had caused an uproar, even making it to the city's trending topics. He painted me as a cold-hearted woman who had abandoned her husband and son, abused the elderly, and treated her family with utter indifference. He claimed that his mother had treated me like her own daughter and tended to my every need, but I had thrown tantrums and even thrown out meals she cooked for me. He went on to say that our son had ended up in the hospital multiple times due to my neglect, and that when he was sick, I didn't care at all. I even went on a vacation. As for himself, Jake claimed he had been the one taking care of all the housework, handing over his paycheck to me, and doing part-time jobs to make sure I had everything I wanted. Instead of gratitude, I responded with verbal and physical abuse. According to him, I had demanded a divorce, leaving him and our son penniless. Because the house was in my name, Jake stood to lose everything. He had turned to the internet, fishing for sympathy. He hoped to get the compensation he believed he deserved. In no time, I was inundated with hate from countless strangers online. Some even went to my workplace and threw rotten eggs at the building. Jake's mother, his sister, and our son had even gone as far as to bow outside my office, begging me not to divorce him. Under the pressure of public opinion, my company fired me. It seemed like the whole world was against me. How can there be such a vile woman like Elena in this world? If I had a son who was treated like that, I'd have sliced her into pieces by now. Poor old lady, this world is so messed up. They should drag her to the tribunal of morality and make sure she never rises again. And so, here I was, standing trial, condemned by both the court and public opinion. The judge interrupted my thoughts. She said, "Before we begin, both parties must sign a fairness agreement. Once the trial concludes, the decision will be executed immediately." I snapped out of my daze and looked at Jake. He flinched but managed to speak up. He said, "Your Honor, there's no need to make this more difficult. As long as Elena compensates me for the losses, I'm willing to let this go." I laughed coldly. I said, "Don't hold back. Let's make this trial as thorough as possible. No mercy, Jake, and don't come crying later." My words ignited the fury of the audience. Can you believe the audacity of this woman? Just wait. She's about to get what's coming to her. She's just putting on a brave face before the inevitable. The noise grew louder and louder until the judge had to bang her gavel to restore order.